So we're going to talk a little bit now about how to approach the strategy, how to approach this planning. So it looks like so far, many people have answered the poll, said, yeah, that you sometimes kind of struggle with keeping the board updated. So I think what I'm going to show you is really going to help. You're going to like it, because at the end of this, I'm going to show you that one-page plan dashboard of strategy, which many of my clients have said they love to engage their board with that. So approaching strategy, we're going to talk about three major areas of this. We're going to talk about your audience, your brand, and then goals and actions. And I feel like for-profits really pay attention to goals and actions and campaigns and have KPIs, right? We're going to talk about the idea of KPIs, key performance indicators, is the acronym. So I'm going to show you how you can implement some of those ideas. So first, with audience. Audience is incredibly important in your communication strategy. It's very important. You know, if you're kind of trying to speak to everyone, you're really speaking to no one, right? You want to dial in your audience in many ways. So the top way really is creating what we call personas. And maybe you've heard of that term or haven't, but basically a persona is sort of a documented sort of fictional person that could represent your ideal program participant or your ideal donor or your ideal volunteer or whatever you want to build these for. Usually nonprofits start with their participants, but it depends. If donations is really critical right now, or you have a capital campaign or something, maybe you do want to have right out the gate sort of a donor persona. But these personas basically are going to guide your communications on how you should speak to this particular audience to maximize that effectiveness of your communications, right? So you want to think of a fictitious person and create this sort of ideal profile that has elements of their personality, their digital habits, how they interact offline and online with your brand. What are the other brands they like? What are adjacent organizations they may engage with? What is the type of language? What are the motivators that motivates them to do things online, like donate or volunteer or apply for a program? All of those types of things. And if you need to start with just one, then start small. Don't get overwhelmed with thinking you need 10 personas out of the gate. You know, we usually say 1 to 3, right? And you may refine it over time and find that you're going to create a donor persona, but then maybe you split it into 2, right? You find certain donors really want to donate because they were in a similar situation that your participants are, and so they identify with the need, or it may be, you know, some other reason. So you may end up taking that one donor persona and splitting it into more detailed ones later, which is fine. And this is just an example of one format. There's many formats to do these. What we typically try to do is make a nice, fun graphical representation of this information so that, you know, you can give this to people, to writers, to social media managers, to the director of development, to whoever, and they can just have this around all the time to easily at a glance just remind themselves who they're trying to write for, communicate to speak to, right? To really dial in the strategy of that communication. So this is one example where you see we've created this fictional person. So this was for a nonprofit that deals with senior housing. So this is one of their personas. They have distinct personas. They have caregiver Kathy. So this may be the daughter or son or something of a parent. They're trying to find housing for their parent who's elderly. They also had, you know, profiles for independent people who are of, you know, older age, but they're still independent and they're choosing a place for themselves. And so those two distinct personas have very different motivators and different factors going on. So just think about, you know, approaching these on how do these people like to be communicated to, and what are the communication strategies and techniques that push them to do actions, right? Like donate or apply for a program or something like that. So it looks like most of you have said you've struggled sometimes with keeping your board updated. So that is common. Is actually a common thing. So the next part we're going to talk about is branding. And most nonprofits have a pretty good brand already. You know, they use logos and colors consistently, but there's a little bit more besides just what your brand looks like. When we talk about branding for communication strategy, we're talking about your brand promise and the value. So when people find out about your brand or hear your brand or see your website or see something, what is it that your brand represents? What does it promise? What are you known for? What do you do best? All those kinds of things. And this helps with consistency and style and communication, style and design, whether it's web pages, social media posts, videos, even virtual events, whatever it is. And having a really solid, consistent brand that becomes recognizable will help you connect with the people very passionate about your cause. So instead of just looking the whole landscape of organizations that deal with what you do, they'll connect more with your specific brand and organization, which is becoming more important as donation styles are shifting now. People are more cause-based rather than organization-based now. Say you're passionate about animals, you will find just through Google or whatever, you'll find whatever kind of the biggest, nonprofit that deals with animals is, maybe, and not seek out a specific brand. So having solid branding can help you stand out. And there's also sort of, the voice and style of how your brand talks, and also all the little technical things. Technical branding things in my mind is things like, what is your logo, official taglines, if you have any, official colors, official fonts, the style of imagery you use, and even the style of how content is laid out. Maybe your social posts have a theme. Maybe the landing pages for your different programs on your website have a consistent content layout and theme. So all of those things contribute to building that strong brand, which you'll use to communicate. So the last area of sort of approaching how we approach communication strategy is the goals and actions. So, and this is the thing that we find that maybe is a little less defined in the nonprofit world. You should always have running sort of goals you're thinking about, right? You should have, we usually say short-term and long-term goals, 1 to 3 short-term goals that maybe those rotate per quarter, and 1 to 3 really long-term goals. And get specific about these goals and use KIPPIs. And that's something that we're bringing to a lot of our clients for the first time, is really tracking effectiveness of communication and having specific goals. So goals being specific, we mean what, how, and when. So what is the goal? How are you going to achieve that goal? What's the plan? And then when do you want that goal done? And then using KIPPIs or key performance indicators that are sort of around that goal that you think will contribute to meeting the goal. So, and then using grouping your actions for communications into more of a campaign model. So we find that really helps. So you want to engage maybe on social channels or with your email list or different things. But when you have a goal, then you can design all the actions and group them into a campaign that sort of is ideally going to drive that goal. So, and what really helps with this too, what we really bring to a lot of our clients is really good reporting, kind of across everything, reporting from their website, their social, maybe their CRM, donation platform, all into like a dashboard, one place. So here's just some examples of dashboards. So the dashboards and the reporting, I think, really helps show people the value of, yes, okay, tracking goals, tracking KIPPIs, and really looking at how effective is the communication strategy.